Hey everyone, it's your favourite noise producer Yuki Noisewall here, and we're back with another kind of solo podcast type video today. Um, I'm not really sure what the video is going to look like for this. It's probably just going to be a picture and me talking, that kind of deal, because I'm lazy, I don't like editing things. My editing days of making high effort edited videos are long over. So yeah, we're just gonna talk about a thing, and yeah. Before I get into the topic, yeah, the June spotlight is coming soon. I just need to finish listening to a few records, and I need to record the video and edit it. Might take me a while because I'm really busy. I've just started this new job, so I don't have a lot of time because I need to kind of settle into the job and stuff. So I really need to kind of give it my all at the moment. But I'll find time to get the June one out soon. But anyway, so there's this sentiment that's been going around the community recently, and I guess I just kind of want to have a quick little rant about it because it's kind of annoying. And that is the sentiment that challenging art no longer sells or performs well. People aren't interested in challenging art. That's a very vague term, and first of all, challenging art, like, what does that mean? Uh, what is considered challenging art varies between, each person. It's a very subjective thing to begin with. It's one of these points that I'm seeing getting thrown around, mostly by these fucking dream punk vaporwave people. A lot of them are associated with Dream Catalogue and are part of kind of Lucid HKE's kind of stupid hive mind shit, where they say a bunch of big words and make all these big generalized sweeping statements that don't actually say anything. Um, and this is one of these things I've seen going around. I've seen May say it, just to name one person. This isn't me trying to have beef, by the way. I'm just fucking wanting to talk about this topic in general because it's actually really annoying, and I think it's. I also think it's completely wrong. But before we get into the actual argument, I just want to say, like, the term challenging art is like a really nebulously defined term to begin with, and it doesn't really mean anything. Like, what is challenging art? Because what one person finds challenging could be different for another person. What does challenging art mean? You know, and if you mean challenging in the sense that it challenges the consensus and the norms of, like, art or music or whatever, I mean, do, do you not engage with art that often? Because that's kind of what art does all the time. Like, as a medium, art as a whole thing, a whole collective thing, whether it's movies, games, music, any art, the whole art as a movement is constantly evolving and challenging the norm and trying to do new things. That is the whole point of art. Whether it be mainstream or underground, art is constantly evolving and changing and challenging norms and trying to do new things. Do you not engage with art at all or something? Like, I know the point they're trying to make. The point they're trying to make is, oh, the mainstream is just garbage and it's just all the samey shit, and that's what performs well. People just want the usual same pop shit that we always listen to, radio hits and stuff like Imagine Dragons and I can't even fucking name that many because I don't really listen to a lot of mainstream music, but stuff like Imagine Dragons and all that stuff that you hear on the radio that's all the same shit. It's the same formulaic pop shit. And that's what sells well, and nobody's interested in art that's pushing boundaries or doing new things. Well, first of all, that pop shit that's all samey is like a very, very small part of what actually makes up popular music that you hear on the radio. If you actually listen to mainstream music and actually keep up with what is popular, you'll find that a lot of the popular stuff is actually really pushing boundaries and doing things that are unique and interesting and new. Um, I mean, I know we all love to shit on the mainstream and we think, oh, the underground's where it's at, and I agree with that to an extent, but to say that mainstream music and mainstream art in general isn't doing anything interesting or isn't pushing boundaries or isn't challenging norms is not only completely ridiculous, it's objectively false. It's wrong to say that. And I'm going to give a bunch of examples. I could give examples from any medium. Music, let's start with that. Look at Bring Me the Horizon. Bring Me the Horizon are one of the most popular metal bands in the world right now, and they are constantly evolving their sound and doing things with metal music that people never thought would ever happen. You know, they're like they have their roots in like deathcore and metalcore, and now they're doing songs with like Ed Sheeran, and they're doing songs with hip hop artists and all these really famous mainstream artists. They Bring Me to the Horizon will collab with anybody, and they do whatever they want, and their style is this constantly evolving style that a lot of other bands copy. They're not the first band to do the style. That was actually Falling in Reverse, but whatever. Bring Me the Horizon. They're the big one that get credit for it. Mixing hip hop and electronic music with deathcore and metalcore. And like every time they bring out an album, it's a fucking event because it's always unique. It's like, what's the sound going to be this time? Who's going to feature on it? What kind of crazy? I mean, they literally put a song out the other day with fucking Corpse Husband. Bring Me the Horizon and Corpse Husband put out a song together, and it's not terrible. It's actually really good. How can you listen to that and be like, oh, nothing unique? There's nothing unique here. There's nothing. This isn't experimental. This isn't challenging music. That is a challenge in itself. A collab like Bring Me the Horizon and Corpse Husband. Who would have thought that would ever happen? And that's like mainstream stuff. That's Bring Me the Horizon are one of the biggest bands in the world right now. And Corpse Husband's a fucking meme. And they've got together to do a track together, and it's not terrible. That's one example. Another example, it's maybe not mainstream, but in terms of, the whole point that you're making here is no one's interested in art that is challenging. No one's interested in art that is pushing the norms. That's not true, though. Because if you look at some of these bands I'm going to mention, they always sell really well. Juggalo stuff's a good example. Every time Ouija Mac puts out an album, and Ouija Mac he's a trap artist. He does trap, horrorcore, hip hop, which is very. He takes a kind of insane clown twist on SoundCloud rap and trap music. It's stuff that the stuff Ouija Mac does is not for the average consumer. It's not your typical popular trap music or hip hop. It's very weird. It's very out there. There's a lot of lines and references that people who aren't into Juggalo stuff are going to understand. And yet, every time Ouija Mac puts an album out, top of the iTunes charts. It's always in the iTunes top 100. Every time it comes out, the week it comes out, it's in iTunes top 100. It's overtaking stuff that is like really popular. It's always in the charts because people like it. People care about it. So yeah, people do care. Every time ICP brings out an album, it's on the iTunes charts. Basically, if you're a Juggalo artist, and the Juggalo movement is the definition of challenging music because it's music that most normal people will not listen to or understand. Every time a Juggalo album comes out, it's on the iTunes charts most of the time, with a couple of exceptions. So yeah, it's in the charts. So what do you mean no one cares about it? Plenty of people do. Fucking look at all these. Look at fucking, I don't know. Even fucking like. So let's use another example. Falling in Reverse. They're an example of a very, very popular band. Falling in Reverse. I'm not gonna get into like Ronnie Radke and his politics and what people think of Ronnie Radke. I like him. I think he's funny. I think he's cool. I think he's playing a character and all that shit. But that's besides the point. But regardless of your opinion on Falling in Reverse, look at the numbers they do. Look how popular they are. They're currently on tour Their tour has sold out everywhere, in every fucking state. Every venue has sold out. They're doing, every time they put out a song, it gets like at least fucking 50 million hits. You know what I mean? They're doing music that challenges the norm. They're mixing fucking hip hop with metalcore, metal, electronic music, rap, fucking alternative rock, progressive rock. They're mixing all these fucking genres together, and regardless of whether or not you think it's good, because I know a lot of people think it's terrible. Watch the World Burn is a good example. It's a song that mixes so many different genres of hip hop and metal together into one song. It's a big fucking journey. I don't think it's. I personally don't think it's the best song ever. I think it's the rap sections are a bit weak. But you know, in terms of what the song represents and what it is as an idea, it is a very out there, very challenging song that is taking all these different genres and aspects and styles and fusing them all together. That song has over 100 fucking million hits on YouTube. You know, that song is. I'm pretty sure that song is like 100 million on Spotify or something like that. You know what I mean? People are listening to it. People like it. People care. People enjoy it. People think it's amazing. It's an event. It's something people are talking about, regardless if people like it or not. A lot of people don't like it, but you know, a lot of people are fans of it, and a lot of people think it's amazing and think it's great. So yeah, people do care about this kind of art. And I know I'm going to get some fucking person in the comments go, oh, Falling in Reverse isn't challenging art. Yes, it is. Yes, they are. Falling in Reverse are a band that have constantly been pushing the envelope for what metal acts can do. They set trends that other bands copied and continue to copy to this day. You know, so I don't really understand any of this argument. So I don't get it. I know that the argument is, oh, no one's listening to our stuff. That's really what you're saying. What you're saying is people aren't listening to our music, which is challenging. But is it? I don't know. Like, I'm not. It's just, I just think it's funny that people who make flap are like, oh, no one listens or cares about challenging art. And it's like, yeah, you make flap. You know what I mean? Flap music. That's not challenging. That's just fucking shit. You know what I mean? I'm not trying to fucking like start a shit or whatever. I just think it's really dumb when people are like, no one cares about challenging art, and it's like, yeah, they do. So many people do. And this is just music I've been talking about. What about other fucking types of art? Movies is a good example. Are you seriously gonna sit me down right now and tell me that no one's making challenging movies and that no one cares about challenging movies? Like, you do know that mainstream movies isn't just Marvel, right? Like Marvel is like just like one part of like cinema, right? Like there's so many like movies coming out and that have come out that are like challenging movies that have a lot to say. Even in mainstream movies, you guys gonna tell me that Avatar 2 wasn't a challenging movie? That it didn't do a lot of things? Like, I know people love to shit on Avatar. They're just like, oh, it's James Cameron. It's multi-billion dollar film, no story, just all visuals. There's a lot of challenging things and themes in those movies, and especially not from the technology side of things. They had to create an entirely new camera just to create Avatar 2. They literally had spent like 5 years developing a fucking new type of camera specifically so they could just film motion capture scenes under real water. That's not challenging. That's not challenging art. That's not pushing the boundaries of cinema. They created new technology for a film, for one film. And you're like, oh, that's not. Oh, no one cares about challenging art. No one cares about pushing boundaries. No one cares about doing new things. Avatar 2 is one of the most. Avatar as a franchise is one of the most mainstream fucking things you can get in cinema. And for this movie, they created a new camera. They developed new technology through research, funding, scientific testing, etc., for a film, and you're like, oh, they're not doing anything new, they're not pushing any boundaries. Shut the fuck up. You have no idea what you're talking about. This is the issue I have with these fucking people when they make these statements. They don't know what they're talking about. They don't know anything about art. They haven't put any research or thought into anything they're saying. They're just like, oh, I make fucking experimental music, so I know what I'm talking about. Fucking get out of your bubble and actually fucking like research shit. Actually like learn about how fucking things are made. Actually take a minute to fucking sit down and actually examine the things you're talking about. You know what I mean? Like, you make these fucking generalized sweeping statements and you don't even know what you're talking about. You don't even know anything about the things you're critiquing. You know, you always criticize modern music and mainstream music, and it's like, are you even listening to mainstream music? Do you even know what these artists are doing? Like, I know this has evolved into like a really annoying rant, but I'm actually really annoyed about this. Like, even looking at the most mainstream fucking artists imaginable. Like, look at Ed Sheeran, for example. People love to fucking shit talk Ed Sheeran. They're like, oh, Ed Sheeran's just a guy with a guitar who makes generic pop music. You know what Ed Sheeran's working on right now? He's making an album with Cradle of Filth. Cradle of Filth. You know, the fucking black death metal band? He's making a record with them. Fucking pop star Ed Sheeran is going to be making, I don't know if it's an album or if it's a track, but he's making music with Cradle of Filth. That's not pushing boundaries? The person who is like probably the world's most popular pop star at the moment is teaming up with a death metal, black metal band who is well past their prime. That, I mean, Cradle of Filth, I'm not saying they're not nobodies, because they are a popular band. They have done, you know, they are a very well-known name, especially in metal. But, you know, Cradle of Filth haven't had a popular album that people have talked about and praised in the mainstream for fucking over a decade. They're well past their prime, you know. I love Cradle of Filth, think they're a great band, they're amazing. But, you know, when was the last time you heard anybody in the mainstream talk about Cradle of Filth, you know? And Ed Sheeran's doing a song with them because he's a fan of them and he grew up with them as a teenager. That's not pushing boundaries. That's not breaking down walls. That's not doing unique, interesting things. It's probably going to sound terrible, but can you imagine? Just the concept of someone like Ed Sheeran doing a song with Cradle of Filth, and you're like, oh no, mainstream music isn't doing anything interesting. Shut up. You don't even know what you're talking about. You've never even probably sat down and listened to an Ed Sheeran album because you don't know anything about the guy. You're just like, oh, he's popular and he made that fucking Shape of You song that I heard in an advert one time, so he's shit. You know? Like, I love to shit on the mainstream just as much as everybody else, but this attitude really annoys me because people don't know what they're talking about. They actually just don't know anything about what they're talking about. They just see a popular thing and they go, popular thing bad, my obscure thing that I do good. You know, that's all they do. You know? And as much as I think that the underground's great and I prefer obscure art, obviously I do. I make it. It's what I live and breathe. It's part of who I am. I feel like to truly be a connoisseur of art and to truly understand art as a whole, you have to also engage with what's popular and understand what's popular and give it fucking credit where it's due. Because while I do think a lot of popular stuff is shit, a lot of popular stuff is also pretty good. There's a lot of good stuff in the mainstream, in my opinion. Obviously, it's all subjective and, you know, it's all opinions and stuff, and no one's going to be right. But I just feel like to say that no one in the world, like the masses, don't care about challenging art is just ridiculous. You know, and since we're on the subject of, you know, we're talking about movies and stuff, what about video games? Video games is an art form. I don't care what anyone fucking says. I don't care what fucking Roger Ebert says. You know, video games are art. Look at Nintendo. Nintendo is constantly bringing out these brand new games, and they're always like doing new exciting things. Look at the new Zelda. You trying to say the new Zelda's not pushing boundaries for open world games? I don't care if you don't like the new Zelda or whatever. If you don't like it, that's fine. But to say that game isn't doing anything new and isn't pushing boundaries, what about other games in the past? that push boundaries. Like, it's just such an absurd thing to say that art, no one cares. The new Zelda game is like probably the best-selling game of the fucking year, and you're like, it's challenging everything about open world game design, and you're like, no one cares about challenging art. All right, okay, guys, no one cares about challenging art. It's not like Zelda's the best-selling fucking game ever. It's not like fucking Avatar 2 made a fuck ton of money with all its brand new technology. It's not like Ed Sheeran's doing the album Cradle of Filth. It's not like Bring Me the Horizon and Falling in Reverse are two of the biggest bands in the world right now. And, it's not like they're doing anything challenging. Nah, no one cares about challenging art. No one cares. And then, anime. We could even go into the fucking depths of anime. No one cares about challenging art. Do you know one of the biggest anime in the world is? Hunter x Hunter. You're gonna fucking tell me with a straight face that Hunter x Hunter isn't a challenging show to watch? That isn't taking every single trope from like battle shonen anime and isn't deconstructing it and isn't doing new and unique things with that? You're trying to tell me that Hunter x Hunter is fucking normie shit? Because Hunter x Hunter is really popular. It's one of the most popular shows in anime. The manga especially is very popular. And you're trying to tell me that Hunter x Hunter isn't a challenging show? What about Berserk? Berserk, the manga. Berserk is the godfather of a lot of Western dark fantasy. Japanese manga, though. Berserk has some of the most emotionally challenging and subversive storytelling in any piece of fiction ever. It has incredibly complex themes. It has a lot of political stuff happening. It's a very, very grim, dark, challenging series to get through. It really, really challenges art as a whole and storytelling as a whole, particularly for fantasy. You're trying to tell me that Berserk's not challenging? Because that would be wrong. And, Berserk is one of the most popular and best-selling manga and comic books and graphic novels in the world of all time, historically, and even to this day. Even after Kentaro Miura's death, this series is being continued because it is so popular. And you're trying to tell me that nobody cares about challenging art. I think I've proven my point. I think I've made my point pretty clear. This sentiment that people do not care about challenging art is just wrong. It's objectively false. And it takes about 5 minutes max of any kind of effort and research and conscious thought to realise how wrong that statement is. I don't know what these fucking dream catalogue people are smoking. They're probably smoking something. I don't know what. I just don't know what kind of nonsense you have to believe to actually think that this is even remotely a true statement, because it's not. Look at anything, any medium, and you will find challenging art in the underground, in the mainstream, and everywhere in between. And you'll find a whole lot of people caring about it. Just because a lot of people don't stream your Bandcamp or your label, personally your stuff, doesn't mean that people don't care about challenging or unique or interesting art. It just means that a lot of people don't care about what you're doing. And, that's a shame. What a lot of people in this scene are doing is cool. I personally think that a lot of the stuff that my label puts out is really awesome and cool and challenging, and it would be great if more people listened to it. But if a lot of people don't, I'm not going to say, oh, no one cares about challenging art. Because, they do. They just haven't found Endogenic Noise Records yet. They just haven't found Yuki Noisewall yet, or Puki Noisewall, or whatever other project I do. they haven't found my friends' music, or they haven't found people in our scene's music, and that's fine, you know. I don't do this for numbers. I don't do this because I want people to listen to it. I do it because it's fun and because I like sharing it with people. I don't really care if I have 5 listeners or 50 or 500. I don't care. But that's besides the point. I just think that y'all have to fucking maybe put a little bit more effort into looking for challenging art because there's plenty of it everywhere. Yeah, that's all I got to say. That turned into a 25-minute rant. I apologise, but I also don't because I had a lot to say, and it's probably going to be over the place, but I don't care. So, yeah, have a lovely day, and I will see you guys whenever I see you, whenever that may be. I don't know when that will be, but yeah, have a great day, and I'll see you guys when I see you. I love you all. I have been Yuki Noisewall, and yeah, go listen to some challenging art there, guys. There's plenty of it.